with some sectors of the market being absolutely savaged since the outbreak of the great medical crisis of 2020, some are wondering, hey, is this the time for me to pull out the rod and reel and do some bottom fishing in some sectors or companies that have had their shares sliced by 50 to 70%? Well, we'll talk about that today. Hi, I'm John McNeil. This is the Invest Strong Network. Welcome. So, if you are looking for a fat flounder at the bottom of the sea, could you perhaps find it in one of these hard-hit sectors? We're going to go sector by sector and, in some instances, company by company, and we'll try to make a determination of which one of these could possibly have outsized gains going forward, and which ones would you hook and then turn around and throw back, right? All right. So the first sector we'll look at is the cruise ships, right? The cruise sector. Now, no other sector has gotten hit harder by the global outbreak than the cruise ships, right? And for good reason. People getting sick on these things, some people dying, right? And this latest outbreak is really just, the latest in a series of, disastrous things that have happened either on these cruises or in the sector in general, right? And so the big three are Carnival, ticker symbol CCL, Royal Caribbean, ticker symbol RCL, and Norwegian Cruise Lines, ticker symbol NCLH, have all been hammered by between 60 and 80%, right? Do they look like something you'd want to perhaps reel in and see if it'll spring back up? No, don't do it, right? These cruise lines all operate on thin margins. They have a lot of debt. They have huge overhead costs, and these cruise lines are going to be some of the last industries that are allowed to reopen once this situation gets under control, right? And even then, there are going to be a lot of people who will never set foot on a cruise ship again after seeing what has happened in the last 3 months or so. Avoid, in my opinion. Okay, then there are the hotels. Now, I actually work at a hotel. At least I used to. Hope I still do. But anyway, the hotels have just gotten walloped since the outbreak, right? And many of their shares, the shares of the big hotel companies, have gotten sliced by between 50 and 60%. Now, some of them have had a rebound of late, this being middle April 2020, but they're still way, way down from their pre-outbreak level. Tempting? Don't do it. The big three: Marriott International, ticker symbol MAR, Hilton Worldwide, ticker symbol HLT, Hyatt Hotels, ticker symbol H. Avoid. Let me tell you why. Meetings and conventions are a large portion of the profit margins for these hotels. And just like with the cruise ships, large meetings and conventions, these things will be some of the last things that are allowed to resume once this situation, medical crisis, is brought under some kind of control, right? But even more than that, with this teleconferencing and things like that have taken hold in the last month and a half or so, I get the very strong feeling, and this is coming from a person who works in the industry, I get the strong feeling that many of these conventions and conferences will never come back, right? And as it relates to the rooms, right? Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, and some of the other space sharing apps will just eat these guys alive going forward. You mark my word, right? And if that's not enough, all of these hotels have food and beverage outlets. The restaurants, which will be the very next thing we talk about, the restaurants are being killed. People will begin looking for other ways of eating. Avoid this sector like the plague. All of these hotel companies, do not be tempted to bottom fish with these stocks. Don't do it. All right. Now, speaking of the restaurants, the full service restaurants anyway, or the casual fine dining as they're called in some areas, we're talking about companies like Cheesecake Factory, ticker symbol CAKE, Bloomin' Brands, parent of Carrabba's and Outback Steakhouse, ticker symbol BLMN, Brinker International, ticker symbol EAT, owner of Chili's and Macaroni Grill, other concepts, and then Darden Restaurants, owner of Olive Garden and Saltgrass Steakhouse and others, ticker symbol DRI. All right, avoid these things like the plague. In a previous video on the 5 stocks, 5 investments never to buy, I had the full service or casual dining restaurants on the list, all of them, for the very same reason. They're low margin businesses. They are being just demolished by the outbreak and social distancing and things like that. I don't know how many of these will survive. There are better buys elsewhere, much better stocks, much better companies in other sectors. Do not be tempted to bottom fish in the fine dining or casual restaurant category. Don't do it, right? All right. And then there are the airlines. Now, the airlines have gotten sliced anywhere from 60% to as much as 75%. Some of them have made a comeback of late, right? Should you be tempted to bottom fish even now? In general, no, right? American Airlines, ticker symbol AAL, Delta, ticker symbol DAL, and a myriad of other airlines, no, and no, right? If I would make one exception going forward, it would be Southwest Airlines, ticker symbol LUV, right? Low debt levels. They have had a long history of being able to bounce back from challenging situations. Maybe LUV, maybe. But the rest of the sector, no way. Do not be tempted to bottom fish in the airlines. Their future is cloudy at best, right? All right. Well, what about energy stocks, right? Now, the energy sector had been struggling even before the great outbreak, right? And it has certainly accelerated to the downside since the great outbreak, which has brought down tremendously demand for oil and petrochemicals and things like that. Many of these companies are going to go bye-bye, guaranteed. Should you bottom fish in the sector? Well, maybe. If you're going to take a risk, or let me correct that. If I would take a risk, I would take a risk in only 3 companies, 3 stocks in the entire sector, right? These are companies that have enormous cash reserves. They have a very diversified chain. They will survive and perhaps even thrive as the other ones go to that big bankruptcy court in the sky, right? So we're talking ExxonMobil, ticker symbol XOM, Phillips 66, ticker symbol PSX, and Chevron, ticker symbol CVX. Those are the only ones I would even be tempted to invest in, right? Now, with that being said, looking at those hard-hit sectors, the market in general has rebounded very, very strongly since the lows in the early 20s of March of 2020. Now, as I mentioned in a previous vid, I believe that the market will come down again to some degree. Now, I don't know. The government and the Federal Reserve are pouring enormous resources into keeping all of the markets buoyant, right? Real estate market, stock market, bond market, all of them. They're trying to keep them buoyant to make it through this crisis, right? When will the stock market in particular be able to stand on its own? Not sure, right? But just like in previous vids, and I'll restate it, focus in on high quality issues only, and be prepared to ride out the storm. All right. So if you found this information instructive and interesting, please smash the like button below. I would really appreciate it. It always helps out the brother man. And please subscribe, right? Make videos twice a week and on usually Saturdays and Wednesdays, and always try to do a lot of research and put out the best knowledge that I can synthesize, right? All right. Thank you very much, and good luck.